Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're zooming in on Hut 8. You sent over a bunch of information about them, and our goal is to pull out the crucial insights so you can quickly get a solid understanding of what's happening with this company.
Yeah, we have a range of materials here from a, general overview of their business to how their stock has been performing recently, plus some technical analysis. It looks like we'll be covering what they do, what's been going on in the market with their stock, and what the analysts are saying. Okay, let's get into this.
So fundamentally, Hut 8 is a significant player in building the infrastructure for high-performance computing and in mining digital assets. Their main focus has been mining Bitcoin, and they've built up a considerable operation. But what really caught my attention is their move into areas like artificial intelligence and high-performance data centers. It seems like they're broadening their horizons beyond just cryptocurrency, which, feels like a smart move in a potentially volatile sector.
Right. That diversification is definitely a key aspect to consider. Depending solely on Bitcoin mining can expose a company to significant price swings. So their strategic expansion into high-performance computing and AI gives them additional ways to generate revenue and the chance to tap into different areas of growth. This could really support their stability over the long term.
Mm-hmm.
What's particularly insightful about this diversification is that Hut 8 isn't just like chasing the next shiny object. Their high-performance computing infrastructure for mining has significant overlap with the needs of AI and data centers, suggesting a potentially synergistic and efficient expansion. This isn't just about having another revenue stream. It's about leveraging existing strengths in a, smart way.
Okay, yeah. You can't ignore what's been happening with their stock lately. The information we have points to some pretty strong upward movement. One source mentions an 8.02% increase, and another highlights an even more significant jump of 14.63% in just the last day, bringing the price to around $13.39. That kind of rapid increase certainly makes you take notice.
It does. That recent surge is noteworthy, particularly given the volatility we often see with stocks related to cryptocurrencies. It suggests a significant shift in how the market is viewing the company, possibly driven by a combination of factors that we'll explore further.
Right. And looking at how they performed financially last year, in 2024, the numbers seem really strong. They reported $162.4 million in revenue, a net income of a substantial $331.4 million, and an adjusted EBITDA of $555.7 million. And get this, their EBITDA margin was over 329%, with a debt-to-equity ratio of only 0.33. That paints a picture of a very profitable company with a solid financial foundation.
Those are indeed strong financial indicators. An EBITDA margin exceeding 329% signals very efficient operations and significant profitability. Adjusted EBITDA, which is a measure of a company's operating profitability before certain non-cash expenses, came in very strong. This suggests that their core operations are generating significant cash flow. The low debt-to-equity ratio also indicates a healthy balance sheet and less financial risk.
Yeah, that ratio is low. 0.33, meaning they have significantly more assets than debt.
Exactly. Which generally indicates a financially stable company.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is how these figures contribute to the overall positive picture.
Another thing that keeps being mentioned is their merger with USBTC data mining group. It's consistently highlighted as a real positive for Hut 8, with expectations of improved efficiency and future growth. It sounds like a strategic move that the market is looking at favorably.
The merger with USBTC is indeed highlighted as a strength. Combining the resources and expertise of both organizations can lead to significant synergies, streamlining their operations, and potentially accelerating their expansion in both Bitcoin mining and their newer ventures. This strategic consolidation seems to be a key reason for the positive sentiment surrounding the company.
Interesting. And going back to that diversification you mentioned, it really feels central to their story right now. Moving beyond just mining into high-performance computing and AI opens up so many different ways for them to generate revenue and expand. It feels like a smart way to protect themselves against the inherent unpredictability of the crypto market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, their move into high-performance computing and AI not only provides additional revenue streams, but also positions them to take advantage of the growth in these cutting-edge technological sectors. This forward-thinking approach sets them apart from companies that are solely focused on digital asset mining.
Okay. Now, what are the people who really analyze these companies saying? Well, analysts seem quite optimistic. There's a strong consensus to buy their stock with an average price target of $31.31. That would represent a significant increase from where they are now, something like 169%. Even Rosenblatt maintains a buy rating on them. That's a considerable amount of optimism from the professionals, isn't it?
It really is. That strong analyst sentiment and the substantial potential upside suggested by the price target indicate a belief in Hut 8's future prospects. Analysts are likely taking into account their financial performance, the anticipated benefits of the merger, and the potential of their diversification efforts.
Hmm.
This raises an important consideration for you, the listener. Will market conditions and their ability to execute their plans actually align with these expectations?
Yeah, that's the key question. And it's interesting because their latest earnings report on March 3rd, 2025, was a real surprise to the upside. They reported earnings per share of 1.481 Earths when the expectation was only 0.036. That's a huge difference. But what's fascinating is that the stock actually went down initially after this news before making this recent big jump. It really shows how complex and sometimes counterintuitive the market's reaction to news can be. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that initial stock dip after such strong earnings. What are some common reasons why a seemingly positive report might be met with a negative market reaction?
Well, that initial dip after such a significant earnings beat really highlights the often unpredictable nature of how the market processes information. Investors might have been looking for even stronger forward guidance, about the company's future performance, or perhaps there were some underlying concerns in the report that temporarily overshadow the positive headline numbers. However, the subsequent surge suggests that the market has, well, reevaluated the situation and is now reacting more positively to the strong performance.
Okay, that makes sense. And it's not just the analysts who seem positive either. It looks like the overall feeling from bloggers and the general online discussion is also leaning towards bullish, with 90% positive sentiment in the sector. However, when you look specifically at news articles, it's a bit more split, with 50% bullish and 50% bearish. So there are still some differing opinions out there.
That mix of sentiment is quite typical. While the strong recent performance and the positive views from analysts contribute to the optimistic outlook among bloggers and the broader online community, the neutral news sentiment likely reflects the inherent risks and uncertainties that still exist within the cryptocurrency market and with the company's newer ventures. It's important for you, the listener, to consider this full range of opinions as you form your own view.
Good point. When you look at who else is operating in this space, Hut 8 is competing with some major players in Bitcoin mining, like Riot Blockchain and Marathon Digital Holdings. However, their move into high-performance computing seems to give them a bit of a unique position compared to some of their direct competitors.
Their diversification is indeed a key differentiator in the competitive landscape. While they're in the same Bitcoin mining industry as companies like Riot and Marathon, their expansion into high-performance computing provides them with a unique offering and the potential to tap into markets beyond just cryptocurrency.
Let's touch on what the technical charts are suggesting. It sounds like when you look at longer-term trends, the moving averages were indicating a potentially bearish sentiment. But this recent jump in the last day, along with higher trading volume, 5.77 million shares traded compared to the average of 4.63 million, really suggests a possible change in momentum. Their stock price has fluctuated quite a bit over the past year, between $6.95 and $31.95, and they're currently in the lower half of that range but moving upwards. For someone not steeped in technical analysis, what does it mean when you say the longer-term moving averages were bearish?
Technically, that recent surge in price and the increased trading volume are significant indicators of renewed interest and a potential reversal of the previous downward trend. While the longer-term moving averages might still suggest some caution, strong upward price action accompanied by a higher volume often signals a shift in market sentiment and could attract further buying activity. When we say the longer-term moving averages were bearish, it essentially means that the average price of the stock over a longer period, like say 50 or 200 days, was trending downwards, suggesting a general negative sentiment. However, this recent upward movement is challenging that longer-term trend.
Got it. But it's not all smooth sailing, right?
Yep.
We have to remember the significant factor of volatility. Being linked to cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, means their stock is likely to experience some pretty significant price swings. That's just part of the nature of that market.
That's a really key point to understand. Absolutely. Despite all the positive indicators we've discussed, the inherent volatility of the cryptocurrency markets and Hut 8's reliance on Bitcoin prices for a significant portion of their revenue remain important risks. These factors can lead to substantial fluctuations in their stock price, regardless of how well their operations are performing. It's important not to overlook that.
Okay. Looking ahead, it sounds like their plans to expand their higher profit, high performance computing operations and develop their energy infrastructure could be significant drivers for future growth. However, on the flip side, any changes in how governments regulate the cryptocurrency space could definitely create challenges.
Those are indeed the key potential growth drivers and risks to keep an eye on. Successful expansion of their HPC operations and the development of their energy infrastructure could significantly boost their profitability and long-term value. However, regulatory uncertainty in the cryptocurrency sector is a persistent risk that could impact their mining operations and the overall environment in which they operate.
So, putting everything together, considering the strong financials, their move into diverse tech areas, and the recent positive momentum, but also keeping in mind the inherent volatility, it feels like the overall recommendation right now leans towards a hold. However, if this positive trend and the technical indicators continue to show strength, maybe a buy rating might become more compelling.
Yeah, that summary recommendation of hold for now seems sensible. It takes into account the company's strengths and recent positive momentum while also acknowledging the inherent risks associated with cryptocurrency and the need to continue monitoring their performance and the overall market conditions. The potential for an upgrade to buy if the positive trends persist is a reasonable perspective.
So, to bring it all together for you, HUT 8 presents a compelling picture with strong recent performance, diversification efforts, and positive analyst sentiment. However, the cryptocurrency market's inherent volatility means it's crucial to stay informed and monitor their progress, especially their ability to execute their growth strategies and navigate market fluctuations. What stands out to you most from all of this information?
What's most interesting to me is the company's proactive diversification strategy. They aren't just riding the wave of Bitcoin. They're strategically building a presence in adjacent high-growth areas like AI and HPC. This suggests a management team that's looking ahead and trying to build a more resilient and diversified business. That's probably the biggest takeaway for me.
Interesting perspective. We hope this has given you a clear understanding of HUT 8. If you found this helpful and want us to explore other companies or topics, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment.